and welcome to Beyond the Racing Line, the Formula One podcast by fans, for fans. Here we are in the Beyond the Racing Line headquarters, and we're a little bit stripped back tonight. Tristan is down. I cannot remember the last time Tristan was not on a pod. It has been a very long time. I think it was back in the days where Watsy and I could hold down the fort. But many a year, it must be bad if he's out. We've also got Shane down. Shane, well, if you didn't know, Shane runs his own cycling team, and he was off around Australia with the cycling team, and is probably needing a little bit of quality time with his family. But don't worry, it's not just me. The reserve driver's back. Bunny himself. Welcome back, Sam. How are you, mate?
Going all right, mate. The reserve driver has finally fulfilled the prophecy, and here I am.
This is what they're for.
I know. I'm not sitting on the Tristan chair. I have left the holy Tristan chair where it is. So don't worry, Tristan, when you're listening back to this, I haven't stolen your chair and your nice comfy blanket for the winter.
That's right.
So I'm quite jazzed.
I told you to move in and you wouldn't do it.
No, I've still got to respect the space that be. It's Tristan's spot.
It's high end. Well done. And you're even worried about sound. Tristan never worries about sound either. So I think we're going to be in for a good one. Unfortunately, we're in for a good one after a real bad one. We saw the Monaco Grand Prix I'm so torn about it. Was it at its best? Was it at its worst? It certainly wasn't at its best. But was it at its worst? Was it as bad as everyone's saying? We've got plenty to discuss. We're going to have a few of our usual goodies. We won't have F1.5 because that is Tristan's baby, absolutely. And I'm just trying to remember what he was saying about Williams. Was Albon going to be kicked out if he did something? I can't remember what he was supposed to do.
If he is the highest out of the remaining...
yes.
Like, if he's in the F1.5 league and gets the win, but Sneaky Hadjar, so...
He wouldn't have done that.
He's going to be in.
Yeah, so, I don't know, does that now roll over to Spain? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Tristan is the man that will decide, but... Yeah, we've got to talk about Monaco, so...
We will. We'll get into it. So we'll get through all the other goodies, and then Sam's going to bring back his segment, checking in with friends. So we've got plenty to get through. Let's start with a race ranking, and then we'll get into our opening question. Go on.
I'm just going with the frustrated four.
Frustrated four.
The frustrated four. I think everything's going to come out in the podcast as we go, so I think I'm just going to leave it as a frustrated four, just so I don't give away the thoughts straight off the bat. But that's really where I'm at with this.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more positive. I'm a 6. I enjoyed watching the Grand Prix. I really like the weekend itself is just magnificent. The Grand Prix is quite often the worst part of the weekend. But I don't know, I still enjoyed sitting around watching. I had some interest to see what this double pit stop was going to be doing.
So it's like 1 point extra for intrigue, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's an average Monaco.
There's an element of intrigue in there. There's also it's a pretty spot to go and watch racing. It's just cool to see cars there. So I'm quite okay with a 6, but I'd very rarely score anything below a 7. So there you go. I think 7 seems to be my average these days, just because I enjoy Formula One so much. It's an interesting one. Do we learn anything about who has the pace at the moment with the cars? You don't really learn that
It's Monaco, because if we had gone back last week, you think that Max is a lot higher because Red Bull have historically done pretty well at Monaco. So you'd think Max is up there in the top 3, but he's all the way back down 5th, 6th sort of territory. But here, Ferrari really close on the scene when they did qualifying, and they kept with it for the race. So Monaco is just such an odd outlier. You can just put down the magic lap like Lando did, get the fastest time around Monaco, and you just can't beat that during the race. So what else do you do with Monaco?
Yep.
I want to give as much credit to the teams that did well, but in terms of who has the pace, I just don't know because of Monaco.
You don't find out because it's Monaco. Monaco is just its own unique place. We did see the Ferraris. We mentioned the Ferraris could be up there last week, and lo and behold, they were. And but that you can't read into that just yet. We want to see Spain first, and I want to see Oscar back at Spain to check that he's still got his form. Because he's had a couple of quieter races, but mind you, I'm not sure that Imola had much to do with him other than one corner, and then, like we said, Monaco was very much Monaco. Opening question was given to us by the wonderful Kingsley. And his question is brilliant. So, and I think this could actually be a segment. My opening question for you would be, what is the most inappropriate personal endorsement for a Formula One driver? His example would be something like Danica Patrick for car crash insurance, or Lance Stroll for promoting his own motivational speeches.
So the most
inappropriate. Yep.
Oh boy, so
Roman Grosjean.
Roman Grosjean
For a fire suit, probably. Well, maybe
but
be the most
but
appropriate.
He's a cook. Like anything, flame grill Grosjean would be.
There you go.
I'm not sure if that's a good sell or a terrible sell.
If Roman Grosjean brought out his own grill, that would be inappropriate.
There we go.
Okay. Yep.
Alrighty,
We're hitting the mark. Grosjean with his own grill. Let's go through a few drivers. Alonso. Lotto tickets. He thinks he's the most unlucky man alive.
Oh no! Just if he tried to sell you a Toyota Camry, like a reliable car, and then with how he went,
he
like,
couldn't sell reliability.
Yeah, reliable cars. Sorry.
Okay.
Alonso.
I don't mind that. Yeah. Okay. Let me give you another one. What about Max?
Max. I don't think he could be a voice in a G-rated Pixar movie.
No. Good point. Yeah.
Filter's just completely
cannot
off.
be a Disney voice.
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yep. That's not bad. Not bad so far. What about? Let me find you a different one. What about Esteban Ocon?
Oh, Esteban Ocon. I just don't see him selling exciting, like anything exciting, like Esteban Ocon's parachuting experiences or like adrenaline-filled experiences. Like Esteban is just smooth, just very like nonchalant. So if you mean to tell me that he's there and he's just like, come along to DreamWorks Studios, the most exciting time you'll ever have. Like Esteban does not sell excitement. He's very subtle and very subdued.
I would say Esteban can't do a teamwork speech. He's not very good at teamwork, Esteban Ocon.
Oh, I can't. So can't sell Zoom or
no,
Microsoft
that's right.
Teams.
No, Teams is not for him. Let's go one more. Let's
Sure.
go one. This is fun. This segment. Who have we got? What about Yuki Tsunoda? He could sell ladders.
sell ladders. Oh, jeez, Yuki. He could definitely sell me on a restaurant. Like he could make a Japanese fusion. Like Japanese fusion, anything.
Remember, we're
with
looking for
anything
inappropriate.
But that's the thing, though. Again, can't be a Disney voice.
Can't be a Disney voice. No.
I don't think he'd be the voice in your GPS because the GPS voice is quite calm, serene. Please turn left in 250 meters. Like
he doesn't have that.
Turn now. Is just Yuki? Just is not the GPS voice.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Thank you, Kingsley, for the opening question. If you would like to send us an opening question, I actually had an opening question. How do I send an opening question sent to me? And then I don't know if I actually got one. I have to go back through my messages. But if you would like to, send it to the page. We'll certainly get it there. Or you can, you can send a direct message to the page, and we'll certainly see it there. And I'll pop them in my bank of questions. I'll have to go back and have a look now I've said that, because had this conversation with somebody just recently. So, actually, a drink this week. So, Monaco. Name me a Monacan drink, Sam. Very difficult.
Yeah,
I'll save you the work. Very difficult. They don't tend to have breweries or anything like that there.
No.
So we've gone with a bit of a French theme, and it's quite lethal. So I'm going to serve you up maybe a smaller one.
That's the smallest size.
Well, this one's nice and small.
Okay.
You do.
I suppose with the rocks.
I think with the rocks. This is a Boulevardier. No, hang on. Now I've got to remember how to pronounce it. It is a Boulevardier. And this comes from a New York magazine, actually. But it was all about French experiences and the French culture. And quite often also featured Monaco. And it was all about selling that experience to the New Yorkers. And so there was a writer that lived in Monaco, and this is the drink that was brought up. This is the drink that he sort of created, and they sold it as part of this magazine. So this is one of the ways I could find some sort of connection with French into Monaco, into some New York.
quite good.
Cheers. Have you tried it?
No, I was getting ready for you to riff on what's in it, so when I have my reaction, because it's...
I think I'm pleased that Tristan's not here for it.
Oh, okay, wow. Okay, that's got some layers. Jeez, alright.
So we've got some bourbon in there, which is obviously the American part. Then we've got Campari and Vermont. And so it's quite similar to a Negroni, which is one of my all-time favourites.
Very well balanced. Like, I thought this was going to be absolute jet fuel, and you're going to have me on the mic just going, pat.
Well,
the entire time,
that might happen. It might be deceiving, because it is quite lethal. There's a shot of each of those bad boys and a little bit more bourbon.
Yeah, just like with the Campari, just giving that little bit of sweetness and the vermouth as well. Like, that's definitely smooth over my usual whiskey.
Are you a whiskey drinker?
No, I worked at BWS for how many years, and during the pandemic, I tried to get into whiskey, and first bottle I bought was like Johnny Walker Double Black, because it had like vanilla and malt and oak in it, and I drank it and just like, nah. So that COVID, that pandemic activity never really took off with me. So.
What about your other half, Paige? I'd imagine she'd be a whiskey drinker.
No, previous bad experiences at uni with it. So it's,
that's like my wife, yeah.
So that's why I got her into craft beer when she first came down to Bendigo, because obviously very good craft beer scene right here in Central Victoria and around.
Yep.
So, I got her into that, and she's never really gone back to spirits. So.
Yep. Nah, fair enough. Let's get into the race.
Indeed.
You be careful there. That boy is lethal. So we saw the Monaco Grand Prix in some beautiful weather. There was a little hint that there could be some weather coming through, but just never eventuated. And practice sessions saw a few people find the wall when they really couldn't afford to be. Hadjar was one. Even Piastri found the wall. He had a bit of a messy weekend overall. Who else found the wall? Leclerc into Stroll.
Yep.
Hamilton found the wall at different times.
Skipped over the chicane.
He
the
got
swimming pool
airborne.
That was frightening.
Someone mentioned that was a good way to improve the Monaco Grand Prix. See if we can get a jump in there. And,
I saw that
Hamilton
tweet, yeah.
actually gave it a crack. But yeah, so it was equally messy across the board. It was young and old. In fact, it was probably mainly older drivers. I mean, drivers that should know better. But Piastri, Hamilton, Leclerc, probably not his fault. But yeah, so we saw quite a few drivers really struggle through the Monaco streets early on. And then we didn't really improve through qualifying. We saw then Antonelli clip the wall. Was there anyone else? There was a breakdown in Q2 from Russell. So yeah,
it was also had to get pushed out.
Yeah, and that's the fear through Monaco when you're qualifying, is that you're not going to get your time in, and because everything shuts down, there's such a high chance of an incident. And so anyway, that's sort of what we saw, and then we saw Norris and the McLarens really step up come qualifying when they weren't showing a huge amount. The Ferraris held some good pace, and Max Verstappen for once couldn't provide the pace when it really counted. So yeah, it was a good, well, it was the best Monaco lap of this current circuit layout. Yeah. By Norris, because he broke the lap record through that, and then it was Leclerc into Piastri into Verstappen. So yeah, it was. What did you think of qualifying?
Oh, absolutely loved qualifying. Watching it with Paige, definitely the edge of your seat. You're just watching every single driver. Are they going to use the mediums to get into the net?
Yep.
Like when the mediums started to creep into it, because remembering back to last year, that was your soft. Mm-hmm. So the C6 has sort of stepped it down, so the medium is effectively the soft. So if you had to bank a double or even a triple stint just to be out on track, all of a sudden Verstappen was finding pace in it. If I remember that...
There's a few that tried it, but it never really paid off.
Verstappen just threw it, and it really worked. And then a few other teams tried it, didn't really work. I think Colapinto tried it at one stage.
But it didn't take them. It didn't take them to the promised land, though. It wasn't like it was the answer, because I think everyone ended up on the super softs at the end, didn't they?
Yeah,
pretty much. The fastest laps.
Yeah.
I don't think even Verstappen stayed with it. Did he?
I think it was It might have been Q3, Q1 into Q2, or Q2 into Q3. One of them he did stick it with a medium.
Yeah,
but
there was a few that gave the medium a go, and then when someone put in the wall, they all swapped back. Yeah, the C6 tyre, the really soft one that they brought in for this race and trialled it last weekend as well, it held on much longer than what they were expecting. Like, they were getting a few laps out of it even.
Yeah.
They weren't even just having to one lap and then in. It was holding on. They just couldn't overheat it. So, which I think that's actually not a bad attribute for a tyre, particularly when it comes to qualifying. You can get a couple of laps out of it, but if you look after it in your between lap, you're going to get a decent result out of it the second time round.
And Monaco is a savage. So when you think about how you have the hairpin where it's very slow, but then very demanding on the tyres, some of the very fast, like chicanes with Novell and the swimming pool and everything. Like, you're asking a lot of that tyre to then not overheat, but then not cool down too much. The C6 worked reasonably well.
I'm not sure you get that out of an unusual racetrack though, because they're not long corners. They're fast. They're semi-fast corners, but they're not particularly long. So yeah, it was interesting. I like that they're trying a few things. I like that they're going to a C6 with the idea of Monaco being that track. I like that they've gone to the 2 pit stop, even though it didn't necessarily produce better racing in the end.
Yeah.
I think trying things shouldn't be like, there's lots of people really talking it down. What a disaster. I disagree. I think overall the race was probably about what we're going to get anyway. There was some interest in it. The slowing of teammates was an interesting talking point. Is it the sort of race we want to see? Not really, but is it any worse than what we usually see? Not really, in my opinion. So, yeah, it was. I like that they're trying a few things. How do you feel about the 2-stopper?
I think when you give the assignment of you must do 2 stops, and then that gives birth to, obviously, Williams and V Carb doing what they did to slow down the pack so then they can slot their drivers in and everything like that. Some adapted to the assignment well and got the results that they deserve. Other teams just should have probably done a little bit better, and that's where I'm sort of looking at Mercedes. Like, you had a bit more opportunity, guys. Like, you guys are the masterminds between how many years? And you've got Russell and Antonelli, pretty good drivers. Yet somehow your strategy team didn't pull off anything other than leave them out, wait for a red flag. You're Mercedes. You can do a little bit better. So,
to the point where even if they managed that, it wasn't going to get them anywhere. Like, they held on for so long that even if they got what they wanted out of it, it wasn't going to get them anywhere. They might have stolen a point, maybe, but if they had have managed to nick a red flag towards the end, they still would have finished 11 and 12th.
But when you're wanting the assignment to essentially go the way of a failure needs to happen for us to succeed, you're not playing the assignment right. So I think that's why it's really frustrating for me, and that's why I really gave it the 4, is that the 2-stop within the best of intentions was trying to do something. Some teams adapted well, but other teams that I really wanted to do something just didn't do anything at all. Like, even Aston Martin could have pulled something out until, Alonso. But
the problem with Aston Martin was they had something to fight for.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, the teams that got the most out of it were the teams that were like, I'm not sure we've got too much. I mean, Hadjar, I guess, was in the same position, but yeah, they got very brave with the Hadjar call, and they pulled it off beautifully, but they also had Lawson in the position to go and help out in that situation. I'm not sure Stroll's the kind of person that's going to be able to pull that off happily.
He could have held up the pack, made a gap for him to slot into. Like, as I said, some people went well with the assignment, others didn't. So, does it need repeating? Maybe, maybe not. Like, if they go either way about it, I'm just going to sit there and say, okay, let's give it another run.
I think
let's not give it a run. But I can't be frustrated any more than what I am. So it's only going to improve from here, hopefully. So,
okay, yeah, I'd give it another go.
At Monaco necessarily, or would you want, say, Hungary?
No, I'm happy with giving it another go. Monaco's the track that needs to change. Like, you can't continue on a race day without at least trying things. Like, for me, Monaco, qualifying was spectacular. I'd actually go, people would hate me for this because I'm making more changes, I'd actually go for the shootout style qualifying at Monaco, because I love just seeing the one car through the track at Monaco and all eyes on it, and let's just do a proper shootout style, one car on track at one time, And I'd do that at Monaco. I'd do all sorts of different things at Monaco. But yeah, but qualifying is still so spectacular. So I still really love it. I don't want to can the weekend. It's just the race struggles a little bit. So I'd stick with the mandatory 2 stops. I'd enforce compounds. I'd make everyone use 3 different compounds, because then you're going to see different people starting on different things and working their way through the race at different times. And while you're not going to necessarily get overtakes, you might actually get differentials within pit stops and within out laps and in laps. And that's the part that can sort of make things a little bit more interesting. Would that cause for more backing up? Well, you can only... It was a perfect storm for a couple of teams. So the reason that Aston Martin couldn't pull that off is because Stroll started 19th. And so Stroll's not holding anyone up if he decides to drive slow. And
Behrman's all the way back in 20th, so can't
that's
help
it.
Ocon in
yep,
the top
that's
10.
it. And so the only reason that the 2 teams that could pull it off, and Williams wanted to do it sooner, but it wasn't going to work sooner. Like you had to have drivers in the right spots for a long time. And yeah, so in the end, I think we would have seen a little bit more if those drivers weren't in those positions, because those gaps wouldn't have been able to be created. But yeah, it worked out quite well. I'd enforce the compounds just for that differentiation.
And I think just for one last little tidbit before we move on, this is the last year of the 2025 cars. We're trying to get narrower. We're trying to get shorter.
Well, we are getting narrower and shorter.
Yep. So it's also going to be another thing that moves towards your favour, is that the cars are going to get smaller next year. Will the engines potentially also influence that as well? So I think you're probably right. Like, we keep the 2-stop because next year you're going to have different cars, different engines. There'll be a lot of learning experiences. I think a lot of them, they'll go back to the factory, and if the FIA mandate it for next year, I hope a lot of them are going to put their strategy pants on and think, okay, we're going to get this right if we have A, B, or C scenarios happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Other changes to make to Monaco before we get into the race?
No, teach your flag waver how to waver properly. Come on, Patrick Dempsey. Your race card.
Oh, right.
Because you have the crown jewel race.
Yep.
Get your flag bearer to just get it right, guys. Like, come on. You have all the eyes watching. It's so opulent and everything like that. And then Patrick Dempsey almost dropping the flag out of the window. Like,
but just he is a racer.
I know. That's why I'm just a little
bit... He races in cars regularly, so...
Get the enthusiastic flag waver man from Japan, the guy that Jason and I absolutely love. Get him to give your checkered flag waver some proper lessons.
Yep.
That'd be the only thing I realistically want to change, is that I want that checkered flag to look majestic and work at the end.
Yeah. Yep.
Otherwise, what am I going to change?
Yep. Okay. All right. I would change the profile of a few corners. I would change the hairpin profile, widen it. Well, in fact, remove probably most of the apex on the inside. See if we can widen it. And so that's going to give a few cars. We saw who went around the outside. Bortoletto went around the outside of Antonelli. And didn't end well for him. However, I think we could probably widen that, and that's not going to create great racing throughout a lot of the race, but it is a slight potential. So if you widen it out, you've got a few different options. It allows drivers to really cut under, possibly not make the corner, but possibly cut under, try a few different things. I would reprofile...
Turn 1 Sand of Odd.
No, I'd reprofile... after swimming pool, what's the chicane after swimming pool? Then in the corner, turn right. Let me think.
Is
Sorry,
that little left-hander that goes into
the right-hander before you enter the pits.
Oh, yeah, just before you
get blank.
Yep. How many times I've run the sim and
I'll remember it. Anyway, I'd reprofile it to sharpen that corner. Get them to slow right down into that corner. Currently, they can carry a bit too much speed through there, and that would cause a few issues for some teams. Mainly slowing them down into the main straight was the main objective with that, because it all just flows just a little bit too much. And then the last thing that you do, and lots of people have brought this up, is you try your hardest to create some space to lengthen the straight coming out of the tunnel. And you run that straight an extra 80 metres. You have to create some some real estate into the harbour to put your chicane in the harbour and a much tighter chicane into the harbour slightly. You're going to lose a lot of the speed coming through the swimming pool, which is one of the great spots. I understand that, but we're looking for a little bit of overtaking. You can lengthen it by about 80 metres, I've seen. I'd do that. I'd give that a go. I'd give all three things a go. And then the two of them are very easy to fix. The third one you can go back to if it doesn't work. But I just think there's a few things that they could just give a go at. This track is not sacred. It didn't used to run in this format. I'd make some slight changes. There's a really big one what I'd do coming out of the hairpin, going straight on instead of turning right to go towards the tunnel.
Yes.
There's a huge long boulevard that runs down there. Now, that is completely changing Monaco and using a whole bunch of other parts of Monaco. However, it would add heaps of space for some overtaking. You'd even have to put some chicanes in there. So, not all is lost. Not all is lost, but I think they just need to get creative. All these people are talking about how horrible it is for Formula One. I disagree. I think there's just some changes that need to be made while we're with these cars.
And I think with a lot of those recommendations, plenty of YouTubers have made those recommendations. One that comes off the top of my head is Mr. V's Garage. Does some great number stuff like Tristan does, but also goes through a few tracks and says, okay, this is what we need to improve for these reasons. So if you just want to go on to Mr. V's Garage, I'm pretty sure he had a fairly similar recommendation of after the hairpin, extend it around.
Yep.
Or there's even the ability that right before you make the right-hander, you can actually go left, drive a little bit straight, then hairpin again, and then extend the straight
you get a hairpin right at the end. There's a big palm tree boulevard all the way down there. You'd probably get the longest straight by quite some distance if you went down there. So, yeah, there's things to look at. They're not going to make major changes because it closes down the city as it is. However, I think just to give it a go, I think it's worth having a little look at. And I'm certainly not one to think that this is always the way we've done it. We must stick with it. Is there anyone you want to mention in the race? Norris drove well.
Norris drove well.
Leclerc, Piastri had a messy weekend. Norris had a great weekend. He needed a good weekend.
Just that 2% for that lock-up right at the start. Page audibly hiccuped.
Yeah.
Right when he locked the wheels.
Yeah.
We thought game over for him and Leclerc.
Yeah.
And then everything got back. Like, he's an experienced racing driver, got off it, got into the turn, everything was fine. But just that first 5 seconds, the hiccup from Page, I was even thinking, we're going to get our red flag. Oh my. But then everything just went to Norris and Leclerc from there. And it was good that everyone gave a bit of distance. Everything worked out well at the start. That was the main thing I didn't want another Perez and Hulkenberg from last year because of messiness. So it was nice that, aside from that
I did say to Tristan, I said, it'd be nice if Lando, I love Lando, but it'd be nice if Lando and Leclerc come together and Piastri can drive his way through. And when I saw the smoke actually made it look worse than it was. It wasn't actually as bad, but the smoke seemed to just really tear up. But when I saw smoke, I was like, oh, geez, careful what you wish for here, Roger. But yeah, other than that, it was a pretty faultless race, wasn't it?
For Norris, for Leclerc, team strategized well. They got them into the right spots.
Never at risk.
Little bit miffed that they mucked up Piastri's left back wheel on his first stop, and they gave a slow.
Again,
mate. Whoever you are on the rattle gun, are you okay? You're all right, just under pressure.
He's British. Shane's theory is he's British and that he's deliberately doing this. I don't buy into that. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a common occurrence. I reckon the last one that was done was a front right, but there seems to be a common occurrence with Piastri's pit stops being slightly slower. Now that could actually be down to Piastri not parking in the right spot because that requires that element. Adam Hughes has done quite a bit of work on the amount of time that has been lost, and I think we'll hear about that in the fan frenzy. But yeah, there is a common trend with McLaren not nailing their pit stops at the moment, and it's probably one of the few things that you can really hit them for because last week's strategy wasn't smashing for Piastri. However, Piastri sort of put himself in that position by not nailing that first corner. You can't knock them for too much, but yeah, the pit stops have got a little bit to be desired. Even a quick pit stop at the moment is a 2.3 or 2.4, which seems ridiculous that it's slow, but that is slow.
Fastest was Ferrari with a 2.
Yeah, I think we had a 2, and then there was plenty of 2-2s, so yeah, there's a bit of work to be done. Yeah, and Piastri's weekend was a little messy, wasn't it? He just couldn't quite line up a lap in qualifying. I think he sort of nailed one. And then, just when everyone kept on lifting, he would generally have a sector out of place. And that's sort of where he was. I think he was fastest in at least one of the sectors in his final run, but he couldn't nail the other two. So,
but he lifted as safely as he could, because you don't overdrive the car. Because again, there's no such thing as putting your car at 110%.
Yep.
What happens is the driver overexceeds, pushes the car.
Well, he did actually. He slid into that wall, Piastri, didn't he? In the final couple of corners. In the lap that he didn't need to complete in Q2, right. He actually did slide it into a wall a little bit. So, it was just a little messy. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're still getting third. Like, third is better points than absolutely binning it, starting from the pit lane, and then you're going nowhere. So,
Yep, absolutely. If third is your messy weekend, things are going well.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really important to remember, because, that's the way that the champions will operate. We've seen Norris. Is he back? He was away. There was no doubt about it. Confidence was low. Is he back now?
Let's give it Barcelona. Like, there's still Barcelona. That's a pretty wide open racetrack. Everyone's on.
I think once we get to a racetrack where everyone's on kilter with everybody else, I think Barcelona's the total, isn't it?
Even Canada. Like, Canada has high stress situations like Monaco, you don't want to bin it into the wall of champions and into turn 5, that sort of thing. So when we move back to a high-speed, high-stress circuit, it'll be good to see if Norris holds his own still. I feel like this has done his confidence the world of good, Norris, and that's what I've been saying all along, is that this season will have these little stretches where drivers are showing great confidence and the other drivers will be slightly off, and it's just about not losing too many points when you're going through your little off. And I think, Norris is always going to be coming back. And I think this will do his confidence the world of good. So I think we'll see a better Norris after this. However, going back to that racetrack, we'll wait and see. Because, once again, Barcelona is a very important qualifying spot. And so, that'll be the part where he needs to put it together. When we sort of mentioned Leclerc, I don't think there's too much to mention for Leclerc. It was sort of good, no curse.
Yep. He's good around there, isn't he?
Yeah, well,
it's not like a home track gives you any advantage other than you're in a space that's comfortable for you.
Except for the Leclerc curse, where he's binned it or DQ'd in nearly every single race up until last year.
But we saw him looking good this weekend.
It's a good Leclerc, and I'm all for it.
Yep.
That's great. Nothing much more to say other than good job, Leclerc. Good on you, buddy. You did it.
Yep, good for the sport. Hamilton, a long way back. In 5th, though.
Exactly, yeah.
Thoughts on where Hamilton was at throughout this weekend?
Just really no, man. Like, when you looked at the timing sheet, and he's 40 seconds behind Verstappen, and you're 40 seconds behind him. You're almost a lap up on Hadjar. You're just really running your own race. Like, how are you not closing the gap to Verstappen, but you're also not losing time to Hadjar? He was just sort of running his own race, and, I would want something a little bit more from Hamilton, but
I think so,
is that really the best? Like, just holding where you are at Monaco, is that really all I can hope for?
It's probably more the time back is the part that sort of... Yeah. He did lose a spot to Verstappen. Was that at the start? Or was it through a pit stop?
Through a pit stop cycle, because then I think that's where the communication breakdown started really happen. And, it's one of those things that a lot of things fail at work, and probably just in life. Communication is incredibly vital. But you heard some of the radio messages where he said, how far ahead is Verstappen 40 seconds ahead? And Adam, or whatever his name is, quoted him like, Verstappen did such and such lap time. And then Hamilton's just like, is he 40 seconds ahead? And then there was such a long pause, and then he said, yes. Just that communication breakdown in such a high-stress situation in Monaco. And that obviously rattles you. And then you've got cars behind, you're blue flagging other people and such. So, and then at the end of the race, you heard the radio messages where he asked him, "Are you mad at me?" And then there was no response. And it's hard on Hamilton, it's hard on his race engineer, it's hard on the whole team's image.
Yeah.
So for communication to fail so much, like if that's the one thing I'm harping on about Hamilton, because he did a good weekend. You got you got fifth in a Ferrari, where previously you were so far down the pecking order. I'm happy for you, Hamilton, but what the heck was up with the communication? I'm just really bummed.
Yeah,
about
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the communication's on him. I think communication has to be. I mean, I know he's experienced,
but as a whole team, like what's
I
think
think the team's responsible for that communication and for creating the bond that's required. It seems to be. I mean, what's said in the car pretty much stays in the car a little bit, doesn't it? Because of the race pressure that is on them. However, I don't know. I think the teams can probably do a little bit more around that, make him feel a little bit more home and all those sorts of things. We saw Hadjar come in 6th. We're used to Hadjar doing good things at tracks, aren't we? But this is a good points haul, this one. This is a good points haul.
And to do it in Monaco as one of the rookie 6, and you're getting the best result out of the rookie 6 in a V-carb.
Yep.
And, you again think back to the Albert Park. That is such a distant memory now. He's just so on form.
Rookie of the year so far?
Yeah, the secret Yuki Tsunoda fan club. I'm actually trying to get the boys on board with Isaac Hadjar. Just needs to stay at V-carb and just build himself as a driver and as a man, because we're quite happy with what he's doing.
Yeah. The last thing he wants to do is get in a Red Bull, but he doesn't have a choice about that.
No, but he's just... And for that weekend to do so well, we're really quite happy. And aside from that, like, binning it on the inside of, like, entering the Novell chicane, and that was his crash for the weekend, otherwise did really well.
And the fact that you can bin it and then come back so well. That's really important for a race driver. Sometimes that can throw a race driver and they're done for the weekend. However, no, not Hadjar. He was quite happy to continue on with his work. Lawson had his best result probably for the season, would we say?
And at Monaco?
Well, Monaco brings out different things. I mean, Stroll's okay around Monaco. Usually, sometimes.
Yeah, until the camera cuts to him and he's flying over the swimming pool chicane.
Yep.
Again, like, even though we're saying that it's Monaco, happy for you, Lawson. Like, good job, dude. You did the team part. You opened up the gap so then Hadjar could get his pit cycles done in a reasonable amount of time and still hold position. Didn't choke under pressure. When you've got all the Williams and the Mercedes, they're trying to push you from the back, and, ordinarily you'd think he'd just drop it in a corner, spin it around or something. No, the guy held his own, and... I'm really happy for him.
Yeah.
And I didn't think... Like, I'd think I'd sit in this chair in a probably parallel universe, and I would have said, why on earth did you try to make an overtake into the hairpin and you speared off Hamilton? Or why did you have to try the Victor Martins move into turn 1 at the start? But he just ran a solid race, and I'm really quite happy. So, it's a pretty good weekend so far that I'm happy with the drivers, as they are so far. We're going to go lower, but, it's just really
we might.
Good. Yeah.
We'll see.
I know, we're going down, but, if I'm still pretty happy, and we're to now 7th place?
So we had Hadjar in 6th, and Lawson was in 8th, and then, we had Ocon in 7th. Good comeback from Ocon, because he'd been suffering from poor form. I won't read too much into it. Like, Monaco is a different place. Let's just wait and see where they're at. However, it's a good result. But the lack of coverage, I can't remember seeing Behrman or Ocon throughout most of the broadcast. That's Haas.
So, that's
Haas.
Haas.
The Haas for you. Yep.
Gotta love that investment from Gene Haas to have your names on the camera. But, seeing as I completely forgot that he was actually 7th. Again, good job, Ocon. You didn't bin it. You didn't try to spear your teammate. Just before the tunnel, like last year.
Yes.
So, when you look at some of the drivers' previous results, and throughout this year, I'm thinking, you guys actually did a good job. I'm quite liking how this is going so far, and then we're going to get into the part that frustrates me, but continue.
Albon Sainz, in both point scoring positions once again.
Hey,
Maybe
hey.
expecting a little bit more of Williams at the moment,
Yeah.
but points are points.
Points are points. I did have signs in F1 predict on the podium, so I was a little bit too fanboyish for a moment, thinking that Sainz was going to get it done. But, Monaco was Monaco, and they did well to qualify, because Sainz started in 11th, didn't he? He was he was outside of it, so to get back in, whether or not you contribute that to the great man Alonso.
Well, but he was also doing a hold-up job as well. He was holding up the pack, so he did. He qualified 11th. Albon qualified in 10th. They both got no, they didn't get ahead of. Who did they get ahead of? Oh, Alonso. Yep. So pretty solid work. Where are we up to?
We've skipped Verstappen all the way up in 4th.
Oh yeah.
Like, I felt like, are you saving this because it was such a odd thing during?
No, I just missed him.
Okay.
Yep. No, Verstappen was pretty Verstappen-y. I mean, he's very good around Monaco. He also has had a checkered record. He wasn't any good for a long time, and then once he found it's a bit like Leclerc. Now he's found his way. He's excellent. So, yeah, it's for Verstappen, it's a poor result. That's how good you'd rate Verstappen, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it seems so odd that he didn't qualify within the top 3. So what gets
odd for him? Yeah,
fourth or fifth on the road.
Yeah. Started 5th and then got ahead of Hamilton
through a pit stop cycle, and then that heart and mouth moment of, was he actually going to make the final stop? And just mess with the FIA just a little bit, saying, I've won the race, but you're going to give me 30 seconds on because I didn't complete your 2-stop. But then when he did finally stop, Paige and I were just like, okay, he isn't going to do a full Verstappen. He's going to play by the rules. And he dropped into 4th, which he would have gotten if he didn't do the pit stop cycle.
How do you feel about a 30-second penalty that they were saying he would get?
No, this is real, and this is where the frustration kicks in when we go down to Mercedes. So you're meaning to tell me you do not compete under the rules, and your penalty is 30 seconds?
Couldn't agree more.
Because it just means that then, okay, if I put on the hards at the beginning and outlast everyone, so I've done the hards, and because I've missed 2 pit stop cycles, I miss a minute. But that could mean that depending on the race and everything, you could win it, be docked a minute, and maybe you get 2nd or 3rd, depending on how the rest of the pack goes.
Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm now interested. You stop a race, win by more than 30 seconds. Is there something in this?
But then that to me screams, we have parc ferme, we have minimum weight, we have skid blocks, all these precedents that have been set in previous races like Texas and China, and minimum weight, like when Seb lost his podium in Hungary because he didn't have enough fuel in the car for them. So if you don't complete the pit stop cycle, whether it's a regular 1-stop for 2 different compounds, or here at Monaco when you're doing a 2-stop, if you do not comply with the rules, that should be disqualification?
I think usually it would be. However, he did put on the 2 different tyres, I think, didn't he? Before the last stop?
It was Russell. Yeah, so Verstappen played the game, but
he'd already done his 2 compounds, I think, before, in his first stop. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it should be a disqualification.
It should be a disqualification.
I think it's a fairly straightforward one.
And
but
then there's Russell.
Yeah, and so it was an interesting one. Sonoda, are we going to give him a pass this week? Tristan's been giving him passes. I have not. 17th. It's a fail. I'll save you thinking about it. It is a fail in every sense of the imagination.
He's driving a Red Bull, so he should be able to hustle that. And after how many years of experience in F1 and F2, like F2, we're racing around Monaco, so he has experience in lower grades.
I've got a feeling Tristan's away because he didn't want to talk about Sonoda being failure.
But yeah, he just needs to he needs to swing it back in Barcelona.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Like he needs to get into 6 or above.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah. I'd nearly give him a pass on a 7, but I agree. I don't think anything outside of that is anywhere near a pass for him at the moment. Yeah, I think 6 is probably pretty good.
Because with Monaco, you have to have a miracle pit strategy, or as we've discussed, have your driver in front or behind.
When you don't qualify, well.
Yeah, exactly.
But once again, though, he should be qualifying better than that. He's in a world of hurt at the moment. Let's go to the Mercedes. 11th is Russell. First of all, Mercedes, strategy, we've touched on already, not great. Qualifying worse. Antonelli had a bit of a messy weekend. He ended up finishing last, I think, on the track. But Russell, was getting frustrated himself. Probably the main talking point is the fact that he decided he would cut the chicane and then he would decide to take the penalty on a track like Monaco. Genius on a track like Monaco until the stewards came in and said, no, Monaco's different. You, my friend, are getting a drive-through penalty.
And when I had to explain that to Paige, she's like, oh, so he's just going to be forced to do his pit stop like he shouldn't. No, Paige. He has to drive through the pit lane with the limiter on at 60, I think Monaco
60
is.
there, yeah.
So you're stuck at 60 and you've got to cruise through. You can't stop for tyres and you still have to complete your stop. And she's like, oh, so that's really bad. I'm like, yeah, because he decided to muck around and find out. Because otherwise you cut every single chicane, you bomb it down the inside and force drivers wide.
Yeah, well, you can't do it. You can't do it every time because the 10 seconds would soon stack up. However, to get track position is everything at Monaco, isn't it?
And on a Williams.
So anyway, I really liked that they came down hard on him. If they had let him get away with a 10-second penalty, I would have been absolutely screaming bloody murder. But I think the stewards actually nailed this one. They're my early hero of the hour for nailing a penalty.
Yeah, I agree. For Monaco, if you're going to do silliness like that, which can set a precedent of everyone else is going to be silly up and down the grid, then give him the drive-through penalty. So then, if say Piastri is maybe thinking about it,
yep,
and then you hear over the radio like Russell's been given a drive-through for cutting it, don't do it, don't think about it.
Yep.
But then after the race, when he was giving all those ridiculous recommendations of we should use the Lego cars for Monaco, every team should have a button on their steering wheel where they can set off the sprinklers, or there should be a helicopter. I'm thinking
he was making a mockery of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's like, buddy, you're the lead driver of the Drivers Association, and you're just getting a little bit too silly on the red cordial.
Yeah, that's right. When things don't go George's way, George throws the toys out of the cot. And it's a typical trait of George, unfortunately. I like him for lots of different reasons, but he is a big Suki Lala.
That was just a terrible weekend for that. So
Yep, absolutely. Anyone else you want to talk about?
What do you reckon about that Antonelli Bortoletto? First lap. So, because Paige was virulent that Bortoletto was trying to put Antonelli into the wall, she then pedal back and then said, oh no, actually Antonelli was too silly, he forced Bortoletto wide. And I said, no, it's a racing incident. Yeah,
well, Bortoletto, great move around the hairpin.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. I don't know why more people aren't trying that, but great move around the hairpin, and then just left the door open. He was too excited. He must have been celebrating the car. Look at me go, I've actually done an overtake at Monaco. I'll be the only one.
Mercedes.
I'll be the only one. And then he left the door open. Antonelli took it. He wasn't expecting it, Bortoletto, and it was a racing incident. It was what it was, but it was a shame for him. Impressive that he could back it out and finish the race. I was impressed by that.
I was getting ready for the full safety car
or
a red, but just that light enough that you can still reverse it, get to the pits, without also dropping how much shrapnel down, like Gasly did when he rear-ended. Who did he rear-end?
He rear-ended
Sonoda.
Yeah. Yep.
Him not stopping and then spreading shrapnel over the track, that was a little bit odd.
Yeah.
Because the commentators were even saying that throughout the weekend when people were delaminating, like when Leclerc lost his wing to Stroll and people spreading shrapnel over the track, like he should be forced to stop in a safe area so then we don't contaminate the racetrack. So for Gasly to drive back on 3 wheels and spread it,
yeah,
I just thought, is he going to get a penalty for Barcelona by doing that?
The challenge would be, where do you park it otherwise? Because there's actually no runoff areas in any of those spots. So he's not going straight on at the chicane out of the tunnel because he's going too fast at that point. And then you drive around the rest of the swimming pool area. There's actually no runoff area. Even after the swimming pool, there's that chicane, but I don't think there's a spot to go and park a car. They usually have to pick you up and move you across. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a huge problem with it. I was the same. I was like, oh, this is going to be causing some punches, which might be exciting, might not.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was an interesting one. A misjudgment on his behalf. I mean, Tsunoda was braking a bit early, but yeah, it was a fair misjudgment on his behalf coming into the chicane. We could talk about Stroll, but he might appear in a mini.
Sure.
3, 2, and 1. Thanks to all signs. What are you calling it? The People's Champion.
People's Championship.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Don't mind that at all. So the People's Champion. Who's your 3, 2, and 1 going to?
As I load in my comment, because even if I'm here or absent, you'll always see my comment on Fan Frenzy.
You're very good.
I went 3 points to Hadjar.
Yep.
What was your 3?
Yeah, I'm 3 points to Hadjar. I think that's just a stellar result. I liked Norris's comeback, but I thought the Hadjar got the 3 points for just he's in an RB and it's making
somehow did really well around Monaco.
Yep. Held his head.
2 points Hamilton. I called it a relaxed...
What?
I called it a relaxed fifth. Like, he's in no man's land, but at the same time, with his previous form, he could have binned it.
No. Sam, you've got to understand, you don't get to give drivers points on their previous form. You might not give them points for being in a fast car.
But Roger, I'm also not the guy that is giving maximum points to Piastri because he's in the fastest car. Like,
boy.
The reserve driver is doing odd things from time to time.
Oh, my golly.
Okay, so who's the correct 2 points?
Wait for Tristan to come back here. He was so far behind the rest of the pack.
But he was in 5th.
Oh, they're your points. You give them out how you like.
Who's your 2 then?
And I'll criticise them exactly the way I want to. No, look, Norris for me. It is a pressure situation. There were plenty of people ready to take that pole position off him. And he gets 2 points for a pole lap that broke the lap record. Yes, he's in a great car. But Monaco's different. Pressure's on at Monaco in a qualifying situation.
And fastest lap of the current track layout.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, get ready for another wrong answer. It's 1 point to Sainz.
That is the wrong answer. Tell me more.
Just because I said he was a supreme wingman, and in the end, he did give the position back to Albon. Like, it's Monaco. If he just wanted to defend that position and not give it back to Albon, it'd just be like, tough at it, bud. I've got this high position. But he got Albon through his pit stop cycle and bumped both of them up.
Yeah,
so
I'll give you that, because Sainz was doing some holding up.
Yep.
And he still managed to come home in the points. So I'm with you with that. That's a fine effort. I can't believe I'm going to give mine 1 point to Lawson. I thought Lawson...
that's fair.
He did a very similar job. He did lots of holding up and came home with some good points. Well, a couple of points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's nearly going to your strategy or your idea of he's been out of form, but I didn't want to say it out loud.
But that's fair. Like,
I did say it out loud.
We're just giving the wingmen 1 point for what they did.
Getting the job done for their comrades. Dud of the day.
My dud is very specific only because I can give it once and once only. 2025 cars in Monaco on a 2-stop mandatory race. Because this is going to be the only time that it will ever happen. But with the marginally smaller cars, and as we said, a lot of teams are sort of learning on the fly. So for me, it just made the whole race very frustrating at the back end. Why Mercedes didn't do better. Like, you've heard me gripe throughout this entire bit. So I just said specifically the 2025 cars at Monaco on a 2-stop. So
yeah, yep, okay, fair enough. For me, it's Stroll.
Yeah, all right.
You crash into Leclerc in practice. You crash in... Who else did he crash into? He crashed into somebody else. Who was coming down the... Who did he crash into coming down the straight? Oh, I can't remember now. In another practice session. Look, it's... Adrian knew he was very nearly going to get it. One of the all-time greats.
Okay.
He's changed his tunes remarkably on whether Stroll's a competent driver or not. All of a sudden he thinks he gets a hard go and that people aren't fair with him. Well, I call BS on that one, Adrian. But Stroll, you have been in this system for a long time. I know that teams are supposed to be giving you the call. Both times they gave him the call. He just didn't hear it properly. Monaco, you got to have eyes in the back of your head, and you have to be across everything. It's so lackadaisical, these little mistakes that he makes, and the team weren't clear, or I didn't hear you properly, or all sorts of things like that. BS. No one else is crashing into everybody, and you've been in the sport for so long. And Adrian Newey, I'll tell you what, you go and support him again, and you'll be in the Dud of the Day very shortly.
Can I just get you to riff on a little bit longer on that? So I was thinking over the weekend that at some point, drivers will retire because either they no longer feel they're competitive in the sport. Like, how long is Alonso going to last with Aston Martin? How long will Leclerc try to stick with Ferrari? Because at some point, good drivers will know, my time has come.
Time's up.
Lesser drivers will be removed because the team will sign people that they want to develop.
Yep.
When or how does Stroll leave?
Well, Stroll hasn't ever been a decent driver, so he's not going to know when he drops off, is he?
No,
He's only just going to be a shit driver getting shitter. And I think that's generally been his way of life anyway. I don't know. I guess when Dad sells the team. I guess when he decides that there's other things he could be doing. I don't know.
Like, does the media not influence him? Like,
the media shouldn't necessarily influence it. The media shouldn't get their way.
No,
they've written plenty of articles about Stroll being crap.
The amount of vitriol he gets online, whether you say it's deserved or not, because I don't promote hate speech online and such, but with the amount of vitriol that he gets, like, he still goes out there and does it every week.
I'm sure he doesn't read any of it.
No.
Which is the right way for him to go.
Yeah.
Like, from his point of view, he's doing the things that he should do. My question is what is he doing above and beyond what he's doing? Like, currently, he is not beaten a teammate in a season, I don't think. So go and do something about that. He's had some good teammates. Alonso, great teammate. Maybe at the arse end of his career. Seb, great teammate. Not necessarily driving that well in his career. He's been done by Hulkenberg. He's been done by Perez. I reckon there was who beat him at Williams? Was it Bottas at Williams? Yep. And so, like, they're all great drivers, but at some point you want to be the better driver. So what are you doing about it? Like,
and Felipe Massa with Williams as well. Like, you had Massa, you have all these greats, and
what are you doing to be better? Like, are you in the sim at all times? Are you getting driving coaching at all times? Are you working extra hard? Are you spending time with the team? And from all reports, none of those things happen. Now, we don't get a lot out of Aston Martin, probably for that reason. There's nothing to promote. You got Alonso, who sometimes seems interested, sometimes he doesn't. You had a world champion that all the spotlight could be on, but is there any improvement being made from his point of view? So it's just, it's getting so pathetic at the moment when there's so few drives, and he hasn't beaten any of them yet. Time to step up, I think. Time to start doing something or get out.
But shall we go a little bit positive with some heroes?
Yeah, hero of the hour. Like I said, stewards for me. Seeing Russell's 10 seconds and matching it with a drive-through, I thought that was good. Could have maybe stepped it up to even a stop-go penalty just to rub it in. I would have been pleased with that. Who's your hero of the hour?
Oh, I've given it to the helicopter and eagle-eye drone. Like, the eagle-eye drone that was right over the hairpin and everything, and you could actually see the drivers going around like a slot car set. That was a good angle.
Cool for a bit,
yeah. But
as Martin Brundle said, you can't really tell what's going on. We never, up until a couple of years ago, we never saw helicopter views of Monaco.
No, because of the broadcasting rights.
The broadcast rights being Monacan, they wouldn't do it, and which does my head in. Surely they would have gone all the way to do that. I don't know why they decided not to, but you get some beautiful views. It is spectacular, but yeah. Yep.
Michael McIntyre for heckling Brundle on the grid about the round thing.
Good,
being on Wheel of Fortune.
He was excellent.
Michael McIntyre is actually, whether or not he's your comedic flavour, Paige and I really like Michael McIntyre and his stand-up bits at the Apollo. He's very good for us.
Yep.
But even saying that he'd help him track down celebrities and push them on the grid. Like, Michael McIntyre is still pretty wholesome, so I don't think he's actually going to go raving lunatic. But Michael McIntyre...
I think it made me when I saw him, it made me go back to the F1 launch where we had the comedian giving the roasting at the start.
What's his name again? Jack White.
Yep, and Michael McIntyre on the grid. There is room for a semi-regular comedian spot in Formula One.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of shit to take out of people. There's so much pretentiousness in Formula One, which is part of the reason I love the sport. I love the sport for all the pretentiousness at places like Monaco, for all its glitz and its glamour and all sorts of things like that. But that's the perfect picking ground for a comedian. So I have no problem with comedian on the grid. Going through when Martin's not available, let's send a comedian out there and do a little bit of work, or before or after the race.
Because Martin's got to have a rest at some point. Go home with his family.
He regularly does.
Go fishing.
Yep. They usually send, and I love Bernie and Ted's "What Does This Bit Do?" I love that. But yeah, there is room for a bit of comedy in Formula One. Yeah. What else? You seem to got some more.
And the only other thing was there was on Instagram a guy called Raymond. So he's wheelchair bound. He, after the race had finished around night time, he got in his wheelchair and absolutely ripped it around the hairpin, just having a good time, and all the lads are laughing and everything like that.
I love it.
Just whoever you are, Raymond, on Instagram, like that was just. I saw that just before we came on, and I'm just like, mate, you're having fun.
So much fun. Yeah. Sort of thing that we would love to do or love to see. Love it. Great work. Very, very good. Let's get into... Well, we can't do F1.5 because Tristan is not here. But I imagine Hajar's taking home some big points. And Lawson, he's going to be up for some points, which is be well needed for him. So, let's move on to fantasy. Now, tell me. You were telling me you made some changes.
Well, okay. So, tip to the listeners, if you actually bother with...
making changes?
Yep, because I came up with one tactically genius move that somewhat paid off.
Okay.
In my team, and we'll go back to this for the Spanish Grand Prix, I have George Russell. So, gets Flintstone, has to start in 14th. And I think, George Russell, you're not going to pay off for me this week, buddy. What are we going to do about you? Final Fix. Have you used Final Fix before, Roger?
No, I don't generally use the tabs.
Oh, Roger, can I sell you on Final Fix? Final Fix is a wonderful thing.
I can't be bothered thinking about them.
But
I know I need to.
After qualifying, you can switch any driver as long as you got the budget. So I swapped him for Leclerc, and I put into the presenters chat, I said, I've swapped Russell for Leclerc. Either this is going to pay off big for F1 Fantasy, or I've jinxed Leclerc, sorry to the rest of Monaco.
Yep.
But paid off. So if you ever want that little bit of an edge on your team, and you're like, they qualified too poorly, if you just want to use Final Fix and you get one of them, just give it a run. Have fun with it. This is Beyond the Racing Line League, sponsored by Dr. Auto Art.
Yep.
Who has not closed down.
I did actually think of you two. I thought you two would go into a little panic after that message. Yep.
Well, stop supporting so much AI art. Please support actual creators like Dr. Auto Art.
I didn't realize it was a great post because I didn't know that was a problem. I honestly had no idea that was a problem. So, yeah.
It's affecting so many artists. So please support Dr. Auto Art. Really get into fantasy so then you can commission Chris for whatever art piece that you want. So, so that was my tip. And did I go any better than you guys this week? No.
No, I'm just having a little squiz. You're not in the top 40.
I indeed am not in the top 40 because I still have...
44, though.
Yeah.
Shane's not in the top 50.
I'm not going to heckle a guy that's is statistically higher than me in the standings.
No. Yeah, well, maybe he is, actually. I've lost him. I missed him. No, we will definitely heckle Shane. That's just... Sam, I don't want you thinking that we're not above heckling people that aren't here. That's our bread and butter, my friend.
Because what did I say during was it Chinese Grand Prix? True mateship is heckling each other and having a laugh about it anyway. So.
Exactly. No, actually, he might have done very well because I can't actually find him on the leaderboard.
Dang. So I am 48. So going to the results of the Monaco Grand Prix. First place for the weekend, we have David Rojas with D-Red Racing. AJ Ferguson with the good, the bad, and the... Why do you want to give you so many?
And the Bearman.
And the Bearman. Good name. As I switch back...
Yeah, Tristan's gone to naming the person. I quite like the names.
and Benjamin Orr with Breen's F1 getting 241 spots. Otherwise, Jolyon Dyer, Nicola Taylor in 5th, Rohan Mehta, and Emily Bruton in 8th. Thank you, sister-in-law.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
There you go.
So she got into 8th this weekend.
And
Rusty
what's
J,
her? Send it. Oh, yeah,
Send
like it.
Yep. Good old Daniel Ricciardo quote. Rusty J in 9th, and Gavin Fenner in 10th with Forza Hammer Time. Where did you finish?
I was 20-something, I think. 24th or something. Yep, 24th I was on 164 points. Tristan was finished 22nd. He actually beat me, but only by 1 point, so he's not picking up many points against me on 165. I'm still searching. I am searching for Shane.
I'm still scrolling. I'm going to come across him.
Shane, I think.
Hello, Paul Cook. There you are in 40th.
I think we've lost him. I cannot find him for...
Chris, what are you doing down in 49th, my friend? Come on. You need to get up there so Roger can paint you an artwork.
There is no art happening, which I'm rather pleased about.
Yeah, Shane's complete. Oh no, Shane Free with Footwork Forward is 51st.
Oh, that's embarrassing. How many points?
With Footwork Forward, he got 110. Shane, my friend,
dear.
I'm going to see if I can jump into your team. Is he going to block me? No real losers. He had Piastri on the double, Colapinto in his team. He got 5 points. Russell only got him 3. Hadjar got him 12, and Albon got him 4 points. Maybe should have used that final fix there, Shane.
So the leaders really, really cashed in because they were on 333 points. That was David Rojas and AJ Ferguson. 333 points, but they went the limitless. Is that the one you were telling me about? No, what were yours was final fix.
I was final fix. In one of my other teams that I've got in another league, I did use the limitless, but I spent it all on Mercedes drivers, and it went poorly.
Yeah.
That's
so
why I've got
limitless is where you can put anyone in for the weekend,
just
can't you?
Dump all McLarens, all
Yep.
Mercedes.
So they went with Leclerc for a double pointer, Norris, Oscar, Verstappen, Hamilton, and then they had the McLaren and the Ferraris. That's a big ballsy move, isn't it? To go limitless
does it, yeah.
and chuck it in. I guess they saw that the Ferraris were going well, but well played, boys. I say, or boy and girl, I don't know.
And that means for the totals, we've got Jolyon Dyer in 1st, Dean Holt in 2nd, David Rojas jumps up into 3rd. So that's your top 3 so far.
Fantastic.
So see if you can improve your teams. Get up there so you can have an artwork by Dr. Auto Art sponsoring the segment.
Yes, absolutely. Well, geez, that brings us into your segment. Checking in on friends.
Checking in on friends. Well, as much as I would have liked to have done it about the Indy 500, we only have one friend, Marcus Ericsson, former Alfa Romeo driver. He got 2nd. Got done on the line by Alex Palou.
Came 2nd, did he?
Yeah, came 2nd. Like, he almost had it on the line. He could have come 1st, nearly. But,
Really? There you go. Alex Palou's always been one that... Well,
Pato Award. And then there was...
Yeah. There's a few... Pato Award, there's a few that have been sort of earmarked for possible... Formula One berths, but yeah, none of them have really come off. But yeah, Marcus Ericsson, that's been a while. I wonder how old he is.
Looks a fair bit when they have their driver icons up on the side. You're just like, wow, you were in Formula One. Because if you remember 2 moments from Marcus Ericsson, is Ericsson hit us, which was Grosjean in 2018. And the other one was him pinwheeling down the straight at Monza when his DRS failed to close, and he got absolutely thrashed about on that. That's the 2 Marcus Ericsson.
Last team Sauber, was it?
Last team was Sauber with Leclerc. So that was before Leclerc was promoted to the big leagues of Ferrari.
Yeah, right.
So that was Leclerc's last teammate.
There you go. Did you watch the Indy 500?
Watch the highlights, because when you've got...
Was it good?
Oh, maniacal. Because you had so many spin-outs. You had the controversy with Penske Racing, where they had a modified rear end, and essentially that went against regulations.
Yeah,
and
right.
of course, Penske owns the Indianapolis track, so there was all this internal, it's a whole affair.
Yep.
FP1 Will on YouTube has a really good recap if you just want to go through that to understand the controversy. Kyle Larson, who reckons he's better than Max Verstappen, if you put me in an F1 car, I'll beat Max Verstappen. Nah, but he spun out on the straight and absolutely binned it in practice, in qualifying, in race. The Indy 500 was nuts, but with only one friend there, My checking on friends.
Yes.
Team principals.
Oh, okay.
Because we've mentioned this with the whole Alpine leadership changing over and Flavio. I'm just like, you know what? I need to check on friends for Roger.
You do realise we haven't done your last checking on friends work that you did.
Well, that was for Formula E, but we've gone so past the Tokyo E-Prix, but unfortunately I was sick that weekend. So
yeah.
I'm going to wait for a new E-Prix.
Keep it in your pocket. Well,
yeah.
Friends haven't changed too much.
Know,
They're still in it. Yep.
I'd like a more current E-Prix.
Okay.
So Cyril Abitbol, last time we saw him, Renault.
Yep.
He is now with Hyundai Motorsport President, so he will have involvement with the Genesis Hypercar project.
He was doing a lot of work with Rally at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, so he was with the Hyundai team, but he's been promoted to the president of the motorsport division.
Yep.
Otmar Zaf now, he's not involved in any particular program, but he is trying to get the investors for the 12th team in F1. So this is what's inspired this list, because when I keep going through, you'll be like, maybe they are the team principal of the 12th team. Bruno Famine is just...
Hang on. He wants to get the funding for the 12th team. Who would the 12th team be?
I'm putting a hot bet on maybe Hyundai co-signed with Samsung, because if you've got HP, Dell, so many of these tech sponsors backing, and like the whole crypto thing that happened. So
let's rewind.
Sure.
He's gathering funding without a team.
Well, that's how Gunther Steiner got Haas off the ground.
Yeah,
if you ever listen,
no, I understand that. Yeah,
it's a good audiobook if you want to listen to that one. But
it's an interest. Yeah, it's interesting that he's going down that path now, considering it was so hard to get Cadillac into Formula One. I think his job's incredibly difficult. Yeah. I'd imagine if you got a Kia or a Hyundai on board, maybe you'd get there, because, I mean, that is a market that is completely untapped at the moment.
The Asian market, because, Honda obviously buying into Aston Martin, but your main badge is Aston Martin.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Bruno Famine is just within Alpine's motorsport division, so that's overseeing the WEC, the GT4, and obviously would have some part in F1, but obviously not with Flavio. Oliver Oakes has not been officially said if he's back to high tech or where his position is with Alpine. So
he's always with high tech, because that's his team.
Yeah.
So I think from what I was gathering from him is he's just going to concentrate back onto that. I mean, he's got a real passion in that area. And for those playing at home, high tech's the F2. They have F3 cars in there as well. Yep. So that's a junior cars, and that's where he cut his teeth, and that's where his passion is. So I think he'll be quite happy just being there.
And then Andrew Seidel, so the man, the myth, the legend from the McLaren. So he was the CEO for Audi, but then he was dropped in favour of Mattia Binotto. But then Seidel is somewhere within the Volkswagen family. They haven't announced it yet. So whether or not he's still in the Audi project, or if he's overseeing Lamborghini, Porsche in other motorsports, that has never been said.
Did a lot of setting up for McLaren. I don't think enough compliments go his way for the where McLaren is. I know Zach Brown is sort of like the overseer of it all, but he's sort of put them in place. And then Stella's sort of just gone and fixed things up. But
he recruited Seidel. Like he's done Stella, Andrew Stella.
Yep.
So he did so much to bring about this team.
Yep.
And then he wanted to go about and raise up Audi when they were going to come into the leagues, and then he was dropped. Mattia gets a job back. Cool. So he's currently the chief technical officer and the chief operating officer at the moment.
Yep. Good choice, though. I think he's a good choice to have in there.
Absolutely. But then, of course, throughout the year, we've had Jonathan Wheatley, who was the vice team principal, is now with Sauber's team principal. James Vowles was the performance engineer with Mercedes, is now the Williams team principal.
And doing a brilliant job.
And Andy Cowes was the engine principal with Mercedes, but is now the team principal of Aston Martin. What am I implying with this? Who are we going to see that jumps from a lower league to go to Cadillac? Because Cadillac will need a team principal. They're going to need chief technical officers, engine performance officers, and everything like that. So that's why I wanted to do that checking up on friends. We have some very big figures that we know of that have jumped. So in the next few, as we go through the next few races, we might see
a few employment opportunities.
So just
fulfillments. Yeah. Do you not think that Andretti's going to have they're going to be team principal or not? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be more like a Zach Brown CEO sort of style.
Andretti will he'll sort of have a Flavio Briatore, where he's going to be an advisor to the board and he'll say, you need to consider employing this person, or I'll approach them and make the appropriate offer.
You're probably right. Yeah, I was sort of always assuming Andretti would be a bit more hands-on, but maybe not. Maybe not. They tend to be a bit more hands-on with their racing, but yeah, Formula One might be a bit too big a jump. Oh, very nice. Thank you. I enjoyed that. Little checking with friends.
Yeah. So
where to next?
Once we get an E-Prix, if there's an E-Prix coming up...
Is that what they call them, an E-Prix?
They can't call it a Grand Prix, mate.
No, an E-Prix. That is pathetic. It's like an e-cigarette, isn't it? It's not a cigarette.
And just stinks as much as what they do. But I watched the full Tokyo races. You're not missing out on much, guys.
No, I know.
No.
Yep.
Just don't try it, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. Any news? Any news that you want to talk about?
Not particularly. No, I can't think of anything. Because it's pretty much people just trying to confirm that Colapinto is there. There was a rumour swirling around that Mick Schumacher's been given a contract, but that was quickly shot down before it even hit major news sources. So I just don't like the rumour mongering that happens, and when it gets a bit of traction, everyone gets a bit up in the air.
Yeah.
So
we didn't actually mention Colapinto.
Well, what's there to mention? Like, he just...
Bring back Jack.
What was Flavio's terms and conditions? You will get don't crash it. You will get points. You will finish every race.
I don't think he said anything about points. I think he said crash, be fast.
Yeah, crash, be fast.
And so don't crash, be fast.
I thought points was
maybe.
I thought points was part of the contract as well. And at the moment, there's not much happening. But again, that
harsh from us. But we're probably a little bitter being here in Oz.
But it's also Alpine. Like, what are you going to do in an Alpine?
It's also like, there's also an element of you is like, what do you expect was going to happen? You're putting a driver in 2 races in and he's got to go to Monaco. Like, that is a hard little...
Imola's hard to
Imola's difficult too, and a difficult places to go to. And so, I think it's like they've really put him under the pump. So, Flavio, good on him. He knows more about Formula One than I do. But anyway, there's a bit of talk about the Hamilton and Adami work on in terms of their communication on the radio. It's interesting. It's interesting that they're trying to play it down a little bit, but there seems to be quite a bit of tension between the two, away from on the track as well. So. Yeah. Other than that, Pepsi joins Formula One as a major sponsor.
Oh, along with how many of the cars are sponsored by Coca-Cola?
Are any of them anymore?
McLaren was.
Yeah, they definitely. I can't say I've seen Coca-Cola's logo on there. It'd be a bit of a challenge, I reckon. Well, actually, you know what? Ericsson's been disqualified from the Indianapolis 500 for technical inspections. There you go.
Why do you make me want to throw a chair, mate? Right when I did checking up on friends, apparently our friend gets disqualified. Sorry, Marcus.
Yeah. And Horner says the only way to fix Monaco is to make some track changes.
Oh, wow. You and Horner on the same page, and only for that reason.
Well, he gave me a call. He reached out, and I thought, I'm a better guy. I'm a better guy these days. I'll give him my time. So anyway, there's not generally a huge amount of information coming out. But yeah, it's a good point. The Cadillac will be making some signings soon, so that certainly will be something to watch. Since Perez was all but signed, he hasn't been signed. It's interesting, isn't it?
It's just such up in the air about Miami. Like, we're going to make a big announcement. People were tracking Perez's jet.
Yep.
Joe's obviously there because he's the reserve driver. And then we got a CGR render.
Yeah, we got absolutely nothing.
Just give us something at Corona, guys.
I don't necessarily need anything, to be honest with you. Just don't do unveilings for nothing. Like, don't unveil nothing. When you're ready to unveil, that's great. If that's at the start of the season, that is fine. Just make something of it. Yeah, I want to see something.
Small aside, though, just before we completely wrap this up, the McLaren livery for the weekend, very subtle, and if you look at the historical reference of the 1974, didn't make a huge show of it, didn't say this is groundbreaking stuff like the Ferrari livery at Miami, and Paige and I really liked it for that.
For me, boring.
Really?
Livery changes. Special liveries are now no longer special. They are a complete contradiction on themselves because teams are changing liveries all the time.
So
Did it look nice? It looked great. I would stick with the circular number panels. Is it anything of any interest anymore? Nope. Because the teams they are getting carried away with these special liveries. I think they're so overdone at the moment.
Like one per year. Like every team only gets one per year.
I mean, it's not. Do I care enough to put a rule in place? No,
Well,
but
then-
don't make a deal of it and expect me to get interested. Is probably where I'm coming from. The pink RB had just been done to death in Miami, and it was just like whatever. We've seen pink.
The white ball in Japan.
Yeah, it was a rip-off of what had been done in the past. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm finding it really uninteresting at the moment, special liveries that aren't really that special. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Leave them. I think Ferrari might be onto something. Leave them be, and then when you actually do something, it'll be an event. But anyway, that's just me being old and boring, I guess. We go to Spain. It's known for being a bit of a pig for overtaking. However, we have had a couple of okay races in the last couple of years. It is the track where teams go to go and find out where things are at. We're about to go and make some changes with regulations, which will be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, it's a place where they have a really great understanding of what their car is doing. When they leave Spain, they have a really strong understanding of where their car's at because they understand that place more than anything else with all the testing they've done in the past. That being said, it's its last race at Barcelona. Second last. Sorry, second last. Yep.
The overlapper next year.
Yeah, we've got the double Spain next year. Got any predictions or any comments about Spain?
It's really just going to be the benchmark. Like, there are no ridiculous corners, no ridiculous features. So once everyone starts to spread out, we're going to answer who has the pace.
We do see DRS trains in Spain a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the non-silly prediction. Probably going to put Norris first. I think there's just an upswing at the moment.
Yep, I think so.
He's just going to do this confident qualifying lap, sticks it. Piastri is probably second. And then after that, do I trust Mercedes or Max and Red Bull to be third? That's really where I'm at. So,
yeah, I think it'll be Mercedes and Max in amongst it.
Mercedes and Max.
My watches. No, sorry, McLaren. Sorry, McLaren and Max. My key watches is who's got the pace out of the two McLaren boys. I think it is an upturn for Norris, and I've been saying it's going to be coming. And then my other key watch for Barcelona will be, is Ferrari the real deal now? We've seen 2 races now where they've managed to get themselves moving. Are we seeing the resurgence of Ferrari? That'll be my other watch. Can they be in amongst it, be competitive? So I'll be keen to see.
And I'm just on form watch for Colapinto and Lawson.
Yep.
Like, Colapinto now has a racetrack to do the things that he needs to. Lawson has an uptick.
Colapinto race here last year, even? When was he in?
Drafted in after Zandvoort, after Sargent had his major crash.
No, not yet. Yeah.
But F2'd previously there, so he knows it. How well does he go?
Yep.
I've got an eye on you, mate.
Yep.
Let's see what you do.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That'll be Spain. Formula 1 racing's great. It's not my favourite place, but I'll still enjoy it. So we'll talk to everybody after that. Keep an eye out for Fan Frenzy. Goodbye now.